All right, all right, all right. Like Matthew McConaughey would say, right? All right, all right. So how we feeling so far? How we feeling? Give me a yeah or a yeah. Pretty good. Okay, so we're getting to know each other. The walls are coming down. You're vulnerable. You're all best friends now. Maybe not quite, but you will be by the end of the day. Let's keep moving along here. Oh, darn. I should have queued this slide up because when I built my presentation, I tried to get fancy with it. See how it's moving? Everything is marketing, but now I have to wait like 12 seconds before I can go to the next one, and we'll wait together. Okay, cool. Here we go. Session 2 is the law of advancement, but I want to start off with some cool ways to look at things. So I've told this before, but I'm going to say it again so it gets into your soul. Did you know that wine poured from a heavy bottle tastes better? Have you heard me say that? Say, I have. Okay, but I want to drive this home because people misunderstand this. I didn't say wine from a heavy bottle, people think it tastes better. What I said was, it does taste better. And that's where people get hung up. It's not just like you're being tricked, right? It actually tastes better. And the reason it freaking tastes better is because the way that you consume something changes based on how valuable you think it is. You're picking up what I'm throwing down? So this is true with all of your companies. It is called a preframe. Okay, now preframes, it's a kind of a deep thing, but think of it like this, like who someone thinks your company is before they engage with you is like the thing that predicates how they consume what you give them. And so if you pick up a wine bottle, even though it happens in a moment and it's totally subconscious, when it's really heavy, your mind got preframed because this is not a normal wine bottle. And so you have to decide, is this a cheaper, crappier one or a better one? Well, if it's heavy, you think it's better. And so when you drink the wine, or when you go give a quote, or when you're doing a sales appointment, or when you're delivering on your service, the frame people have as they consume what you have changes a whole bunch of stuff, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Next thing is bad tasting medicine has a higher efficacy rate. Efficacy is the fancy doctor word for it works good. So if medicine tastes bad, it works better. And again, just like with the wine, check this out. I didn't say that people think that it works better. It literally does work better. And there's a whole debate in the medical community. One of my good buddies down here in Texas is a doctor. We talk about this stuff sometimes. And we talk about the placebo effect, right? Like, is it ethical for medical professionals to like use the placebo effect? Because what's interesting about it, there's two ways to kind of look at it. And I have my opinion on it and you can make yours. And there's a little bit of gray area with it. But the general idea is if someone actually says my headache's gone, even though the doctor knows nothing was given to them, was anything wrong done? And right, I agree with you. I think no. Because the idea is to heal the patient, to cure the thing, to help, right? And the doctor's creed is like to help and serve. But the thing is when you give someone medicine, the way the doctor preframes it actually changes the effect that it has on it. Now, it's not entirely true. Like if I inject you full of morphine right now, you're going to flop on the ground and be laying there, right? Like there's biological things that happen. But I think this is fascinating, and it still ties into this preframe idea. So the reason why, by the way, is when things taste good, we think it probably doesn't work good. And so if your medicine tastes like candy, you're like, it's probably not that good a medicine, right? Are you picking up what I'm saying? So because you think it's not going to work, guess what winds up happening? It doesn't freaking work as good. Isn't that insane? Think like what areas of our life does this apply to? It applies to everything. All the time. That's why when I say marketing is everything, I literally mean you're marketing to yourself all the time. You're talking yourself into things. You're talking yourself out of things. You're telling yourself stories about what's going to happen, even with this event. And I know how traveling is not fun. And if you came with your spouse, I guarantee there's like friction and arguments and little offhanded comments in the airport and my luggage and my carry-on, and you get on the plane, like, why are we even going to this stupid freaking thing? And blah, blah, blah. And then your customer's mad. Like, who knows what's happening? But we're telling ourselves stories and stories and stories. And that expectation that we set has real world consequences. And if you're like I used to be, I thought all this stuff was not real. I thought it was hogwash. I was only of the school of pull yourself up from the bootstrap, suffer longer, do it more, and that's it. The problem is that's not true. The human mind is incalculably complex. It's unbelievable. So I think that's interesting. By the way, on the medicine thing, red pain pills work better than any other color pain pills. I don't know why. I couldn't figure out why on that one, but it's true. Isn't that crazy? Also, if you give people 3 little tiny pain pills instead of 1 big one, the little tiny ones work better, even though it's the same amount of milligrams of active ingredient. Is your head exploding, or am I the only nerd? If you're a nerd, say, I'm a nerd. Oh, I think maybe I'm actually the only nerd. Ash, am I the only nerd? Okay, that's okay. I can live with that, okay? Red Bull, one of the reasons it's a successful company is because it tastes bad. You know, and the example I use is I heard a guy named Rory Sutherland give this incredible keynote about Red Bull. And he's the chairman of Ogilvy. Ogilvy is one of the oldest advertising agencies in the world. They're legendary. I mean, they go way back. And David Ogilvy was the founder. I think Scientific Advertising, that was Claude Hopkins. I can't remember Ogilvy's book. Ogilvy on Advertising, I think. And anyway, Rory was talking about how Red Bull broke every rule to become successful. And so when we're looking at our own business, we want to do like logical things. Like HVAC companies do this, so that's what I'll do. Not that that's necessarily bad, but sometimes you can approach things and break all the rules and it works. In fact, when I first went to Costa Rica and started the Automate, Grow, Sell company, the LLC, and I made my boot camp course, which, is there anybody even in here that remembers the boot camp? Any boot campers? We got a few. Okay, cool. Chris, OG. When I did that, losing my train of thought with that. It'll come back to me. So Rory's talking about, the breaking the rules. So yeah, everyone said that was a horrible idea. Everyone said. All the people I respected said, don't do that. No one's going to, it doesn't make sense. That thing like changed people's lives. It was unbelievable. When we did the first event, Automate, Grow, Sell experience at our house, people said that will not work because in the service industry, there's free events. And then people go there and they argue about ball bearings and couplers and influx reverse flux capacitors and stuff. Like that's what the events are. You don't do a $3,000 event to mastermind about business growth. No one's going to, it's sold out every single time, right? And so breaking the rules. But Red Bull, imagine you want to create a drink to compete with Coca-Cola, right? Who's the GOAT? Coca-Cola is the elephant. And the beverage industry is gigantic. Red Bull broke every single rule. And here's how. If you are a 24-year-old marketing degree graduate and you go to the board of the beverage company that wants to compete with Coca-Cola, it would be very risky, like you're probably getting fired if you suggest or recommend what Red Bull actually did. If you went to this startup and they're like, all right, we got to design a product that's going to take a bite out of market share from Coca-Cola, the logical answer would be, well, we need something that tastes better than Coke, right? Tastes better. We need something that is a better price than Coke, right? Better price. We need something that has maybe a bigger bottle. Maybe it's 99 cents, but it's 23 ounces instead of 20 ounce for a thing. And like no one's going to get fired for recommending those types of ideas because it's normal. It's logical, right? But good marketing is oftentimes totally irrational because humans are irrational. So Red Bull, what they did is they basically took a drink, they made it super expensive, put it in a tiny can, and made it taste like crap, right? And it worked. They sold 7 billion of them last year. It was more than that. I think it was 7.5 billion cans of Red Bull. The other thing that's interesting for marketing about Red Bull is they're not even a beverage company. All of the manufacturing, all of the operational stuff all of it's outsourced. By the way, it only costs 9 cents a can to make Red Bull. Anybody know that? 9 cents a can. Did you know that? 9 cents. So you're like, I can't raise my prices. I'm just not sure if, Sarah's going to be mad at me. Look, they're not evil money grubbers trying to get their jet ski, although I'm sure they have plenty of jet skis, okay? They understand how to play the game, and we can learn from that. Isn't that cool? 50% of their revenue goes to marketing. Red Bull is literally a marketing company that just happens to sell a drink in a tiny can that tastes like crap for $5, right? And that's what they are. Another example, I actually have a little Facebook clip where I was talking at a different event about the slow elevators, which I think I've mentioned in our group, where this hotel in Eastern Europe was getting complaints because their elevators were slow and older. It was going to cost millions of dollars to upgrade the elevators, et cetera, et cetera. The logical way to solve that is to bite the bullet and upgrade the elevators. And look, maybe they should have anyway for like safety reasons. I'm not talking about that. But it's interesting because this hotel hired some behavioral psychologists to just do an assessment. And what they came up with was installing full-length body mirrors around where the elevators are. Because when they started surveying people and digging deeper, they realized people don't actually care about the slow elevators. People care about being bored, right? The problem they were solving for was like the wrong problem. And so when you can pick your nose in the mirror and stand there for a second, you don't like notice the elevator is slow. Is that interesting? And so that's a psychological solution to a physical problem. It's an example of, I think I got to solve this problem, but I can do this other thing. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? Say, I am. Okay, because there's opportunities filtered through your whole company to do weird, tiny little things. And Ashley's right about the signature scent, you know, like there's hotels. Did you know high-end hotels have signature scents? So I told her, I said, WarPlan Studios needs a, actually she told me, but we were talking about that. She said, we need a signature scent. I'm like, cool. Ashley, what is a signature scent, Ash? What did you pick? What is it? Flight of the Banshee, I guess, is our signature scent. Like we put diffusers everywhere. Avatar scent from Pandora. Who likes the movie Avatar, by the way? Freaking awesome. Okay, next example. Well, humans are strange creatures. I think I made that point. Another cool example is Ubers versus taxis. When Uber blew up, people think it blew up just because it's cool technology. But there's a lot of smart people that argue that the real reason it blew up was because of the map inside the Uber app. Because it turns out people don't really care if they ride in Larry's Honda Accord for their short drive in an Uber versus a taxi. They don't really care that much. What they care about is having certainty on how long it's going to take to get in the car, right? And so, again, it's like a perfect example because you can walk on the sidewalk, and I'm not a city guy. Like Texas stresses me out. There's way too many freaking people down here. There's people everywhere. I would rather be in the, who would rather be in Alaska reading books in the woods? Anybody? Okay, or where are my beach people at? The beach, reading about, okay, see? I knew that's about half and half. We got beach and mountains. Anyway, so the Uber app, when you book a ride, it finds your driver and it shows him coming to you. And if it takes 6 minutes for him to get there, you're like cool with that because you know when it's coming. The expectation management is better than if you walk on the sidewalk and there's not a taxi. Now, one might be coming in 2 minutes, one might be coming every minute, but that little weird anxiety feeling you feel makes you more likely to book an Uber. Is this breaking your brain? It breaks my brain. Viagra. Anybody use Viagra? No, we don't have that. Viagra is an amazing example of marketing because at the end of all their ads, I haven't seen a lot lately. There's a lot of knockoffs and stuff, but it always says at the end of the Viagra ad, you know, for erections lasting longer than 4 hours, please consult a doctor. I actually put this out. I don't have a big social following. We're actually, what we're using the studio for is to begin the process of chopping the wood to do that, to build, right? And it's funny, so I'm putting stuff out. Like I did that elevator clip. We'll put it out on my Facebook page. It got like 300,000 views. And people are just like, that's manipulation. They're liars. The people are going to die in the elevator. I'm like, you're kind of missing the point. I'm just saying a cool example of a thing, right? But same with the Viagra. That one went like mini viral, got several thousand views. And they're like, that is not a marketing claim. You know, that's a health thing, and your wiener can explode if you're, you know. So I'm like, look, I don't know what happens to wieners on Viagra. I don't. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't know the downside of like if it goes wrong. But I do know that these people running these companies are not idiots, and that every time they say that sentence for erections lasting longer than 4 hours, it's marketing. That's the best-selling sentence of all time for that drug. They're literally, it's called a damaging admission. And it's when you say something that looks negative, but it actually tells your customer, we're freaking awesome. Our stuff works like really good. And so if the marketers just said, hey guys, we totally promise, like it's legit, it works super good. No one believes that. But if you flip it and bend it and reframe it into a damaging admission, guys, listen, I got to be honest with you, just for legal reasons, works really good, and it's not our fault if it works too good. Like, that's kind of what they're saying, right? Another example I found was baggage claim. There's an airport, lots of complaints that the baggage claim took too long. It turns out, though, it was a normal amount of time. But the reason people thought it took too long is because the terminals affiliated with that baggage claim, right? So where you get off the plane, you walk out the jet bridge, now you're in the airport. The baggage claim was really close to the terminal. So you could walk there in like 2 minutes, and then you have to wait longer. People stopped complaining when they moved it to the other side of the airport because they're like occupied. They're like walking and dodging traffic and doing things and seeing the vendors, and they're just, their brains turned off, and then they get there, their bags show up, right? So yet another example of that. Things are not always what they seem. That's true. It's also true with kids. My daughter wanted to make a lemonade stand, and I've been putting it off because it's like a lot of work for me. Like when she says, I want to make a lemonade stand, it means, hey, Dad, will you make me and sit all day and help me do a lemonade stand? It's like, yeah, like we need to do that, but our neighbors don't really like us, and there's only like 2 people an hour that walk by. I don't know, health code. So she just took it upon herself to make some lemonade. And I was so proud of her, but I was also absolutely terrified because all she did was walk in my bedroom with a cup of something. She's like, Dad, I made lemonade. I'm like, you don't know how to do that. Like, we didn't show you that. But she's like, no, I figured it out. I put it in there and I mixed it around. And I'm like, put what in there? She's like, it's a secret, right? Things are not always what they seem. It tasted disgusting, but of course I muscled through it and told her it was the greatest lemonade I ever had. Who's seen this job ad? I've shared it before online. Anybody? This is from Ernest Shackleton, early 1900s. This is a real expedition that happened. Let's read it together. It says, men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, but honor and recognition in case of success. Like, what a weird way to write a job. Do you think this would fly today with millennials? What do you think? What do you think? Gen Z, what is the newest generation called, Ash? Zoomers or something? Yeah, I don't think they would like this. But what was crazy is that he got thousands of applicants in 1913 for this copy. And this was at a time when there's no internet. So people had to physically walk to that address, 4 Burlington Street, and like apply. And there's so many lessons in this. One is like, it's kind of good marketing. But the other lesson is just how men are designed to pursue something epic, right? Men and women. We like, I feel like specifically men, part of us wants to trade our life for something. We want to conquer stuff. That's why we like movies like Braveheart and Rocky and all this stuff. We're vicariously. This is why 43-year-old overweight dads paint their face blue and silver and keep going to Detroit Lions games for the love of God. They're living like vicariously through the 22-year-old super athlete who's making all the money. But it feels like Larry's winning too, right? Humans are crazy. Who remembers a slap heard around the world? Anybody? Slap heard around the world. So that was weird. That was a thing. We won't even get into that. What people don't know, though, is that Chris Rock is estimated to make $100 million from that happening to him. Without suing Will Smith, it has nothing to do with that. Because everything is marketing. And his agents and PR, I guarantee, were salivating when that happened. Because they know how to bend it, flip it, turn it into an opportunity, how to take lemons and turn it into lemonade, right? And he's been having sold out tours. In fact, at the time, this has actually happened a while ago, probably over a year ago, right? His ticket prices for his show, I can't remember the exact number, so I don't want to like say the fake claim, but they were like $40. They went to $400 like the next few days after that. Because everything is marketing. Humans behave on emotion and justify with logic. Even logical people still do this. We just don't think that we do, right? Because part of our identity is how logical we are. And so we still walk around life being 100% moved by circumstance and messaging and emotion and feelings, but not seeing that it's true. So it's helpful for yourself to recognize that in yourself, because that's how it works. Everything is marketing. Marketing is everything. My definition of marketing is to make known. That's all it means. So in the context of small business owners, we think it's a task. We think it's a to-do. It's not. Think of yourself as a miniature Red Bull. Everything you're doing is marketing. The way you show up, the way you lead team meetings. You know, I've told the story too where with my cleaning company, we had an annual Christmas dinner and award ceremony every year that we had the company. Even the first year when there was 1 employee. And that was pretty awkward, wasn't it, Ashley? So we went to a steakhouse we could barely afford with 1 guy, Travis. He sat there, Ashley and I sat here, and I literally gave out awards, and I made him stand up to receive them every single time in the steakhouse because I was setting a tone. I had a vision for stuff. I'm like, we're going to, and you know, by the end, we were renting out hotel blocks with catered food, giving bags of tokens. We brought their kids to the event, and they could go do all the arcades and all the stuff. And, you know, it grew into that, right? But marketing is to make known your ideas, your values, your principles, what you have to share with the world, what Melody has to share with the world. She's got a powerful solution for certain people. And if she plays small and she doesn't lean into this, she's just helping less people. And they're going to hire someone else that doesn't care. This is an example of bad marketing if this is your profile picture on a dating app, okay? This is Larry. We're just going to roll with Larry. Is there anybody Larry here? Okay, we're good. I can make fun of Larry. The metaphorical Larry. This is bad marketing, right? If you're on christianmingle.com or you fire up your farmersonly.com account, fire it up, want to talk to the ladies. This would be good marketing for several reasons. Obviously, he's a celebrity who's super rich. He's devastatingly handsome. Is Hugh Jackman ugly? Say no. Is Hugh Jackman better looking than the average man? Say yes. Okay, but that's just the obvious marketing. You said no? That's not your gut thing, huh? Okay, I respect that. But what I see when I see it, to use this as an example, is the water bottle and the apple. Because to me, that's a nonverbal signal that not only am I rich, famous, and handsome, but I take my health seriously, and I'm going to be able to provide for you for decades to come, right? It's the things that are said without saying the things. That's what I mean, that everything is marketing, right? And the first sale is always to ourselves. Literally, always to ourselves with every little thing. The best marketing is internal, not external. Carnival Cruise Lines, and this is another one where it might have been called something else at the time, but what became Carnival Cruise Lines, they only could afford one boat when they started. And they didn't have enough money to paint the whole boat. They didn't have enough money, but they did have enough money to paint half of the boat. And they did. Now, guess which half was facing shore? True story. Then what they did, they had no more money because they spent it all on half of a painted boat. So they needed to fill it up with people so they could buy food and booze and do all the things that people do on cruises, but they didn't have marketing budget. So they made joint venture relationships with radio stations back whenever this was, 80s maybe. And they had all these radio stations give away these free cruise things, right? If we know marketing. Who here gets like spam calls or spam emails from people saying, excuse me, Mrs. Jones, you've won 2-day vacation. Right? Like the travel industry are marketers, right? So they filled up the boat and it gave them the runway to keep going. Like, think of your company and what areas have you done something like this? Where have you turned, water to wine? Where have you turned lemons to lemonade? But where have you made 1 + 1 = 4, right? It's powerful. Success comes from finding a way to make something work, finding a way to do the impossible. Johnny needs to sell 10,000 memberships to Gain My Biz, right? And you're sitting at your computer and you're like, all right, software exists. I got my Johnny hat on. I got nothing. What do I do? How do I get people to give me all their money and buy this stuff? And you know that it's going to be powerful for them. And it already is. People are using it, right? And you got to find a way to get your message out there, right? One of my favorite quotes, and this was originally in the intro of my first podcast, which was, God gives the birds all the food they ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You got to go get it, right? I think it might be time for a 2 clap. So let's not pull a hammy here. I'm not going to pull a hammy, but 2 clap, all in. Okay, cool. So the law of advancement. This is just the setup for this. And I'm hoping you really get it here. All right, so as you know, we moved to Costa Rica, started trying to do Send Gym, almost went broke, got bailed out by some friends of mine financially, emotionally. Like, this business was so hard, it wrecked me. I'm not diagnosed with actual PTSD. I'm doing it tongue in cheek and not to minimize real PTSD. But I was really messed up. There was more than once I drove myself to the hospital with chest pains because of a software company, because of how high the stakes were and how I could not figure it out. And there's problems I was trying to solve and they were the wrong ones. And so that's, the way that turned around was really because I joined Russell Brunson's inner circle, and he didn't wave a magic wand, but something with my belief changed. And I think because I was in the service industry, and at least back then, $1 million business in the service industry was a really big deal. It's becoming increasingly more common now. But 15 years ago, there wasn't all these groups, there wasn't all these programs, and it was rare. It was like finding a unicorn. Most people were just owner operators. And so I had that mindset and I had success there. But when I went to software, I was thinking so small. I remember being so stressed out. Like, how do I get 100 customers? How do I get 150 customers? How do I get it to do, 30,000 a month? So I have a minimum viable something happening, right? And because I was aiming so small, I was taking too long to get there, and I almost bankrupted ourselves, which would have been for a second time. Because when we lived in the trailer, there were some problems years ago. 6 years, I worked full time on this. Now, I started when I still had my cleaning company, started making investments, building, started trying to market it when I still owned my company. After I sold, I was like all in. But imagine working for 6 years and taking $0 out of the business. When I say zero, I mean literally zero. It says zero in profit. There's no paycheck. There's no wages. There's no distributions. There's no nothing. There was nothing. It was nothing but a black hole of death. Can I get an amen from the black hole of death, Ash? Amen. It was a black hole of death. But I knew we had a really great product, but it was like I couldn't figure it out. And I was stuck. I was in pain. I felt alone. Maybe some of you feel like that sometimes, hopefully not while you're here. I was broke, and I made 2 decisions that changed everything, which has to do with this law of advancement idea. First thing I did is I made a really cheesy marketing video. Anybody ever seen this cheesy marketing Send Jim video? Anybody with the gorilla suits? Okay, got some OGs over here. It cost 20 grand just to make this one video. I got a couple smaller bonus videos with it, but basically 20K for one video. Who wants to imagine you have no money and you spend 20K on one video and you're the one writing the script? Do you feel the pressure? If you feel the pressure, say, I do. I'm sitting there with my blinking cursor like, I gotta nail this, and writing and editing and printing it out and scribbling it and deleting it and doing it again. And then, of course, shooting it and then waiting weeks for the turnaround because editing is crazy. But I did that. I took the risk. Second thing, like I said, I joined Russell's group. It was funny because I think the main thing I got from Russell's group was I was around people doing impossible things. And when I got to meet them, I realized, you're not that smart. Like, I think I could actually do this. Like, you're kind of disappointingly dumb, but you're doing $2 million a month? Is it $2 million a month? Okay, got it. Okay, cool. And I don't mean that disparagingly. Like, amazing people were in that group, but it reframed my brain. So I had this video. I joined this thing. I got on a stage at Russell's group like this. And you have to like present your business to all these ballers. I had like the most broken thing in the whole group, I think. So I was super nervous, and I start unpacking what's going on. And I lay it all out. I played them that marketing video. And they're like, they were laughing their butts off. Like, this is amazing. This product's amazing. They were like more excited about it than me. And they're like, so what are you doing to market it? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just going to like put this video on my website and stuff, And long story short, Russell told me, he said, Josh, everything's ready. Now you get to do the fun part. And to me at the time, because I was so stressed and so numb by everything operationally, like I did not view marketing as the fun part, like at all. In fact, it was just another weight to put on my already 200-pound rucksack to carry around is what it felt like. He's like, no, Josh, this is the fun part. This is like after you're married and you can have sex. That's what he actually said. And he's a Mormon, so he was like super pumped, like get married so I can. So anyway, he's like finally you can do it, And to him, but the point is stuck in my head. And he told me on a Zoom call one time a couple specific things to just do different, little simple things. And really, what turned around Send Jim was so dumb. It's so simple. And it was I created a marketing course called the Sales and Marketing Super Course, where I just interviewed a bunch of people crushing it, compiled it, and I sold that. And as a bonus that came with it was like a trial to Send Jim. So instead of selling the thing, I sold the thing that indoctrinates people on how to use the thing. See the difference? It completely changed, right? So 6 years of beating my head against a wall, walking destruction, razor's edge, and then 18 months after I joined that group, we did like over 4 million in new revenue just in 18 months, right? Starting from like a really broken place because of that one asymmetrical way of looking at it. Is that interesting? Okay, so this is what the law of advancement is. What you want to go up must first go down. This is a natural law. It's not my opinion. I didn't like make it up. It's something that's observable truth. It's observable in our bodies, right? Like with muscles. To get stronger, you have to first get weaker. If I dropped down and did 20 push-ups right now, first of all, I'd be totally out of breath. But tomorrow I would feel it, right? Because my muscles would be sore. Lactic acid would fill in because your muscle fibers are literally tearing apart because you're working them. And that's why growth hurts. Growth always hurts, right? It's not just true with that, though. With trees, for a tree to go up, the seed has to go down. It's fascinating to me. The seed has to die, actually. The seed has to stop being a seed so it can become a tree. It's like metamorphosis with caterpillars and things. Like they turn into like a liquid goo and then become a whole other thing. That's how it works, right? We got any butterfly fans out there? They turn into a pile of goo. That's insane. When you're building your business to get the next bigger result, you have to turn into your version of the pile of goo. You have to transform. There's things that have to happen. Pain is a part of it. That's why we open by saying it doesn't matter how hard it is, it only matters if it's worth it. For a bird to learn to fly, it has to fall. A lot of bird species, the mom will push it out of the nest and actually swoop down and catch the bird and do that repeatedly until the wings catch the air just the right way and it can fly for the first time. Are you getting goosebumps or is it just me? Wisdom. If you want more wisdom, you have to first humble yourself, right? There's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and I won't get into that, but they look similar to the untrained eye, but they're entirely different things. If you want wisdom, in a way, you have to get dumber temporarily. If you want confidence, you have to get smaller first. You have to open your ears and shut your mouth, right? If you want your confidence to go up, your humility has to go up, which is a form of going down. This is the law of advancement. If you want your money to go up, it has to first go down. We had no money, and I spent the 20K on the video, joined Russell's thing, wanted to throw up, presented, went back, and then it could go up. But it couldn't have done that. If I didn't do that, you can't have the second part. You skip the first part, baby. You don't get to have the fun part that Russell says fun part if you don't do the first part, which is like getting hitched, right? They go together. Bamboo is a perfect example of this because bamboo has to be watered daily for up to 5 years so it can grow 90 feet in 5 weeks. I think that's amazing. It's another natural example of like how this stuff works, right? Every day you're watering the bamboo seed and there's no visible signs of success like at all, like with your e-com business. I know you make some money, but you're frustrated. And what we're not understanding is that there's so much happening while you're watering. There's so much happening that you can't see. There's stuff happening in Melody's business, and Chris's business, and everybody's business in you, and you're establishing roots. The reason it takes so long to grow is because the bamboo couldn't grow if it didn't establish this expansive root system. It would tip over and rip out of the ground. And so it has to do all the work that no one can see in the dark, which is literally exactly like what it feels like to do a business. If you agree, say, I do. That's literally what it feels like. I know I'm not crazy in that, right? And so there's all this stuff happening under the surface, and then boom, it can happen. That's the law of advancement. So why are so many people still stuck? Well, you're establishing roots, as I said, and there's other reasons. One of them is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which I love to use Melody. Can I pick on you, Melody? Okay, thank you. Dunning-Kruger is this psychological idea that lower IQ people overestimate their abilities and higher IQ people underestimate their abilities. And it's not just IQ like you're book smart or anything like that. What it means is that talented, intelligent people underestimate their abilities. I just talked to Chris outside. And Chris, if you know Chris Martinez, he literally came from you just find Chris Martinez and have him tell his story to you, drugs, abuse, and next level pain and trauma and all this stuff. And he's just the most incredible family guy ever. But I can see what he is and what he's capable of, and he can't see it the same way because the Dunning-Kruger effect, that's literally what it is. So I see talent. I'm like, you're going to be on stages, bro. You're going to change lives. You're going to do all the, I see it. I see it. It's not me saying nice things to you. It's literally true if you want it to be. But you have self-limiting beliefs, right? Or Melody has self-limiting beliefs. And so Dunning-Kruger is when you're an overthinker. Where are my overthinkers at? Anybody overthink? Okay, me too. That's Dunning-Kruger effect, where we want to plan in perpetuity. We want to plan in perpetuity instead of doing something messy right now. Massive imperfect action, it's a nice thing to put on your Facebook wall, but like, it's not fun at all to actually do it. You know that, right? You can wear a t-shirt, massive imperfect action, woo, right? Doing it sucks kind of a lot. Even doing an event like this, which is a celebration event, the delivery, like you trusted me and bought this thing and then we're wrapping up. It's a ton of work. It's messy. It's not perfect. Like the audio is messed up. We tried to live stream. We're trying to make it fancy, but it's not perfect. It couldn't be. What? What, do we not do the event? No. If you have a marketing campaign that's not perfect, don't be the overthinker. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect playing games with you. This is also why you see people that really aren't that talented kind of like kick ass. They just do stuff. You ever met someone like this? They just go do stuff. It's amazing to watch, and we can learn a lot from it. You know, we'll use Larry. Larry, he's just out there doing stuff. He's like, hold my beer, and he just does $1 million. Like, wait, seriously, Larry? You know, what the heck? And I know, like in the HVAC industry, you'll see 26-year-olds come in, and they're like, $1 million. And George is like, right? So, Will, is Will back there? I'm sorry, I should have warned him. But we're going to play a quick video, the flea experiment, because it's powerful. Oh, he is? Okay. I don't know if the audio is going to work. Are we good, Will?
Training fleas requires a glass jar with a lid. The fleas are placed inside the jar, and the lid is then sealed. They are left undisturbed for 3 days. Then, when the jar is opened, the fleas will not jump out. In fact, the fleas will never jump higher than the level set by the lid. Their behavior is now set for the rest of their lives. And when these fleas reproduce, their offspring will automatically follow their example.
That's pretty dope, right? Who has kids in the room? I heard Ashley mention it. So, you know, kids do what we do, not what we say. That's a thing, right? I remember my dad, to his credit, he quit smoking, and I smoked on and off for years. Like, it was a struggle. But I would watch him be like, Josh, he's like, don't smoke is super stupid. Like, so dumb. You're smarter than me, Josh, you know. But of course, I instantly want to be cool like him and smoke, right? Or you see the old early 1990s Dare commercials where like they find a kid has some weed and the dad's like, Billy, where did you get this? And he's like, from you, Dad, right? Like in business, success, just the way you show up, you know, the certainty you walk with, the marketing you're doing to yourself, you're training your fleas, your kids, your baby fleas to do it like that because it becomes their paradigm. It becomes normal. And that's why a lot of us are kind of jacked up and it takes a minute. Tony Robbins says famously that people say that they waited 10 years to change, right? They have a breakthrough. After 10 years, I finally had this transformational moment. When the reality is that all transformation happens instant. It happens in a moment. It doesn't take time, but it took 10 years to have the moment. For some of us, it takes 10 years to go, oh my God. Like Chris, right? Like, oh my God, maybe I have a spirit of rejection and maybe this because my parents weren't around and all the, like it can happen quick, right? So how do we break through the lid? Well, it's the law of advancement. You have to be willing to let things go down so it can go up. You have to be willing to be bad at things so you can eventually be good at things. People want to be a speaker, but they won't speak. People want to have a podcast, but they won't record. People want to make $1 million, but they don't sell stuff and they don't market. You can't. You're not allowed to. The universe won't let you. The law of advancement is a natural law. It's not some cheesy thing Josh made up. It's how it works. And it's hard. And I don't know how long it will take. But I know that if you don't stop, it will work. The bamboo will come out, and your version of work will be different than someone else's. You don't have to compare your bamboo to the person next to you. You compare it to yourself. But the first sale we have to make is to ourselves, and that's really hard because our eyes are the enemy of our vision. You know, vision is something that's in your soul. It's in your mind. The vision isn't physical. It's metaphysical. But your eyes deal in the natural. You know, the Bible says walk by faith and not by sight and trust the Lord and all this stuff. And that's like cool, but it's literally how success works. Is you have to walk by faith, not by sight. Your eyes lie to you. Now it's funny because back to politicians. Let's just talk about religion and politics all the time. No, we won't do that. But politicians, you know, they don't want you to believe your lying eyes. You ever heard that phrase? It's like, no, we totally didn't do anything wrong. There's like a 4K video from 3 angles. It's like, here's them doing it wrong. And they're like, absolutely fake news, right? And they're like, don't believe your lying eyes. So yeah, your eyes are useful. We want to deal with reality, but you can't see the whole game. Like your current circumstance doesn't allow you to see that far. right? Garrett White describes it as facts. Circumstances are facts. F-A-C-T-S, facts. It's true you can get a flat tire. That's called, a contributing factor to success. Like you can have a setback. Your market could be a little bit different. You could have less energy than the young guy. You could not be as good of a copywriter as the other guy. There's these contributing factors that are true, right? But the determining factors of success has to do with what your vision is for your life. And what Sen Jim was stuck when I was thinking small, just the very act of thinking bigger all by itself pulled it up by the bootstraps quite a bit. And there's still lots of broken things and it's far from perfect now, but like this is how it works. And your bank account might be at a certain level. And so you let that mess with your vision. So your behavior will be dictated by what you see. And my employee didn't show up. So that must mean my vision doesn't exist, or my bank account's lower than I want it to be. So that must mean my goals can't exist. And they're just entirely different things. And back to the Bible, because I love it and I love Jesus, that's no secret. It talks about how God's word is a lamp unto your feet. And I think that's fascinating because you can only see 10 feet with a lamp? You can't see 2 miles. Like you're not supposed to see 2 miles. You're not allowed to see 2 miles. That would be not fair because no one else, including the successful, could see 2 miles either. But they step and you can see a little bit more. And you want to be a speaker and you speak and you can see a little bit more. You have to have volume and speed and reps, right? This is the law of advancement. There's one requirement. You have to actually go all in, your version of whatever that means. Like I went all in with karate. Yours could be a different thing. I don't know if we got any ninjas in the room. But you got to actually go all in. It's one thing to do a 2 clap, but we're trying to keep the energy high so that we serve you at a high level. And I want you, when you leave here, to feel really good about the people you met in this whole program, right? Because this is the beginning of something much bigger for us and our team and what we're going to do. And I want you to have good memories because I know that with events, people remember mainly how they felt at the event a year later. They don't remember all the stuff, right? So if you take one thing away from both days, is to ask yourself, are you actually going all in on yourself? You have to find a way to be resourceful. It's not all about having more resources. It's not about Uncle Joe sending you a stimmy. The young kids, they call stimulus checks stimmies. Like it's an actual part of language now. Like, what's up, Uncle Joe? Send me the stimmy. Like it's all over Instagram. Interesting. Just like Carnival Cruise Line found a way, right? And you have to stop thinking so much and start doing and be comfortable sucking at everything because all of us do until we don't. And I sucked at football and they didn't let me play. And I sucked at karate and I got kicked in the eyeball and the bully with a mustache kicked my butt. All that's true, right? But then that wasn't the whole end of the story, because I kept iterating and stuff. And that's like how it works. And what's hard about marketing or people like Russell or these famous people is people really don't understand how much pain and bad things happen before, the success. They also don't understand how hard it is during the success. And it's because the marketers want you to see like the exact veneer of what they want. You have public facing reality, right? Like here I'm on live and this is my life. And then there's like reality. And so I don't want you to think that all these people that are crushing it are like better than you because they're literally not. There's people in this room way smarter than half of the people I know that are crushing it. It's just they're doing it. You have to stop thinking so much, start doing. Don't let the Dunning-Kruger effect hold you back because those who go all in win. And as we get ready to land the plane and eat tacos with fuzzy dust, great proprietary language, by the way, right? They could have just seasoned the chips. They could just like have chips with seasoning, which is like normal. But no, they're the only place that has fuzzy dust, which is super dope. So in Hobby Lobby, 32-year-old blonde white females all over America, they like to buy these home decor that looks like Joanna Gaines made it. And they put it on their wall and it says, commit your plans to the Lord and he will establish them. It's like, it feels good, right? So they buy this. What they're not understanding is like, this is like a 3-step success formula. There's 3 parts. You have commitment, you got to have a plan, and then like God does stuff. But he doesn't do your part, and you can't do his part. But he doesn't even get involved until you do the first 2 parts. But if you are a believer, or you're just not sure, ask yourself, if you do your 2 parts, is God a liar? Is he going to show up? Because if you commit and you have a plan, he has to show up because he said he would. And what does that look like? Well, commitment doesn't mean trying something and dipping your toe in, right? Commitment means going all in. My definition of commitment is running in perpetuity into the darkness with no expectation as to how long that's supposed to last. And that's scary. That's like really scary. Senjin was 6 years of running into the darkness without stopping, almost falling over, right? And then we got a breakthrough. How many people would have stopped? How many people would have quit? My business hero, Peter J. Daniel, started 3 companies in a row. They all failed. His wife begged him to give it up, to hang it up, Peter, get a job. For God's sake, stop, Peter. He said, no, I'm not doing it. And he became a billionaire. And it's not just about the billionaire thing. It was about him living to his potential. This guy couldn't even read until he was 25 years old. He came from 3 generations of poverty and criminals, right? And he did that because of the law of advancement. This guy, as a dad, he's not all in. Come on, he's not. He's, fair enough, he's busy. He's not all in. This dad, he's totally all in, okay? This guy, he's not only have a bunch of them, he's got the vest, right? Definitely, he's got a minivan, 100%. 100% over under. Like, Andy's at the grocery store? Are you kidding me? That's all in. This kid, his mom told him to play outside. They're like, Billy, go play outside. But he's not all in. Look at him. He's dabbling. This girl, she's all in, okay? Here's the 2 questions for you. What areas of your life are you applying the law of advancement? Where you're willing to suffer because it's going to be worth it, where there's something broken, but it's worth fixing, where maybe part of your pain is because you thought it would take 3 months, but you're now learning it's going to take 6, or you thought it would take a year and it's going to take 3. Let's identify and think through some of those things, because the reality is a whole bunch of y'all already know a bunch of stuff you should be doing more of, and you're just not doing it. And that includes me. There's all kinds of stuff. And the second question, are you going all in? So again, let me recap. We're going to eat lunch. I want you to think about this. We can talk about it. What areas of your life are you applying the law of advancement? And I want to celebrate the areas where you are applying it, because I also know that that's happening. This isn't a beat you down for not doing it kind of talk. A whole bunch of y'all are doing it. You're figuring it out right now. You're currently earning your bachelor's degree in pain, which is super awesome. And are you going to go all in